there. Welcome to the garden one final time in this garden. I wanted to come out here today and shoot just like a goodbye to the garden video. So much gratitude, I have to say, for this space. This garden has taught me so many lessons throughout the years. It's been such a challenge because it's a super small space. We have the 4 raised beds, but it's just been a really cool experience to go through and practice my gardening skills and learn and grow as a gardener. I wanted to kind of show you some pictures, take you back in time, take you through the garden a little bit, and just talk about the journey in this space as we get ready to move on to the next gardening experiences. So when I first got this garden, we just moved in. I actually wasn't really into gardening at the time. I had gardening experience. I gardened with my mom growing up, but I never had my own garden space. I've been in apartments and I had just like little pots and containers. Actually, the thing that sparked my real gardening love was one of those little basil seed kits that you get like at Target, and I started growing some basil in some containers at my apartment and kind of got into it. But even when we bought this house, I wasn't really thinking gardening in a huge way, and so we bought this and it had this tiny little backyard. I wasn't trying to go for like a house with a big garden space. It just wasn't on my mind at the time. So we got this house and it didn't have any of the raised beds. It did have this beautiful slate patio area, which has been a cool space and a great space for all my containers. So that was here, and then it was just sort of like old landscaping. There were a couple boxwoods, the little Japanese maple, but not really much going on. So the first year that I gardened in this space, I actually didn't put in any raised beds or anything. I just grew in ground, and that's when I really started kind of my love for containers, and I started, just putting out like a few pots. I did start a bunch of things from seed, and that was the year I had like 3-foot tomato plants, because I was so excited to start my seeds that I started my tomato plants way too early, and I had like these 3-foot tomato plants in my house that I was moving in and out because they just got huge. And I had this wild patio garden with all of this coleus that was like massive. It was totally chaos, and that's sort of where like the reckless garden began, because it was just wild, and I wasn't even posting or sharing any of it at that point. I was just kind of doing it, and it was kind of crazy and just having fun. And then of course I started actually growing more in the ground, and I did go ahead and put in the 4 raised beds, which was a game changer for my experience growing in this garden. Before I had the raised beds, it was really hard to really grow any vegetables in the small space. And so I would definitely, that's like one thing I would recommend to, if I had a friend who had a small garden like this and was trying to grow in ground or grow in containers, if you have room for raised beds, it really makes a big difference, and really helps with just being able to kind of organize the plants, get them up a little bit so they get a little bit more sun, and just get the whole thing going. The raised beds helped a lot, and they were just like really fun to do. So that was a big change in the garden. And then I started getting really into growing in containers. I did kind of like the trough. I had this like elevated raised bed that I grew a lot in, which I actually don't have anymore because I got it was wooden. And I sort of learned that in this really rainy, wet environment, growing in wood is pretty tricky. When we come back to this area and get our more forever garden space, I will not be getting wooden raised beds. I will probably do some sort of a metal raised bed, because it's too hard with the amount of moisture that we have. But I had really fun with the elevated raised bed, grew a lot of stuff in there. That was a really cool experience, and really helped me with like container growing. And then just all of the different containers and everything, just so fun throughout the years. More on the patio. I put in window boxes on the patio, so I was able to kind of grow like off the side of the patio with the window boxes. That was a big development that really changed up the game for me in this garden space. And then, actually by my husband's suggestion, which he doesn't usually get into the gardening, but he suggested that I get the arch trellis. And that was another thing that I started doing in this garden space that really maximized the small garden and elevated my ability to grow things. When I started getting into really using the arch trellis, using the other trellises that I have, it really allowed me to do more vertical growing, which I hadn't to that point been doing quite to the level that obviously the trellis allowed me to. And really in a small garden, if you can put in some trellises, some arch trellises, anything like that, it allows you so much more room to grow. The tomatoes growing over the arch trellis, I mean, that's a whole space that if I didn't have the arch trellis, the tomatoes would not be able to be in that area. It would just be like an empty walkway space. So that was a big development that really improved the garden, and just the number of containers. So one of the things when I was packing up this garden, which you know, was bittersweet, I realized just how many containers I have back here. And there's so much you can do, changing around the different sizes of containers, the different, you know, you can do flowers, you can do vegetables, you can do all kinds of things. So big changes there. It was just such a great learning experience. And I also really got into growing in the Unheated Greenhouse space, which gave me some season extension, which helped me in the spring. I did some winter sowing back here, which was really fun. We got some milkweed going, and there's just been so many blooms, so many flowers. It's just been really wonderful. And this little garden, and just gardening in general, has become such a happy place for me. It just really is like, it's just where I come out to find some peace, and there's just always something to do, which if you're like me, I'm kind of like, I like to putter, I like to move. I guess I'm probably like, I don't think of myself as like a super high energy person, but I think I am. I like to be doing things all the time. And so the garden is great for that, because you can always come out and like pick a tomato, pick a cucumber, and there's always something new to try, to mess with, to fiddle with. And so that has been great. I put in the sprinkler system. That was another development that we did in the garden that, oh my gosh, changed everything. And having some kind of automated watering will make things a lot better. And yeah, it's just been such a great proving ground, such a great place to test out my gardening skills. And so I'm looking forward to this next season, which is going to be a ton of container gardening. I'm really excited to see how that all goes. I think it's going to be great. But for now, it's goodbye to the garden. This is actually today is my last day here at the house. So after I walk out of the garden today, I don't think I'll ever be coming back here, which it's just such a moment. It's just such a moment. It's definitely a little sad, but I know there's a lot of really good things coming in the future. And so I'm embracing change. I'm embracing this moment. I am excited. I'm so excited about all the future gardens to come and sharing them with you. So I just wanted to have you with me while I say goodbye to the garden, because I've been sharing this garden out here on Instagram, on YouTube, and it's really made the gardening that much more fun. I try not to like talk about it a lot, because I just want to like talk about what I'm doing and talk about gardening, but the amount of people that are here with me just blows my mind. It's absolutely crazy, and I'm so grateful. Like, I'm just so thankful that you want to see the garden, you want to see what I'm doing. Like, as I say goodbye to the garden, I want to say thank you to you, and like, let's go just jump into the next chapter. So goodbye, garden. Here we go. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.